Day 2 video, scatter plots and equation graphing review. Okay, so let's start with scatter plots. Scatter plot is a graph of paired bivariate data. That means that bi means two, like bicycle. There are two variables there, bivariate. The graph is plotted on the coordinate plane. One data set contributes the x-coordinate of each point. The other contributes the y-coordinate of each point. So let's look and see how this works. Way back in the second quarter, we did a activity where we tied knots in a rope, measured the length of it, and we looked to see if there was some kind of a pattern or relationship there. So we're going to construct a scatter plot of that data. We'll do that here on this graph. Okay, so what I do is I take this left-hand column here is the number of knots, and this right-hand column is the length of the rope. We have to remember the difference between a dependent variable and an independent variable. An independent variable is one that stands alone, and it determines what happens to the other one, which is the dependent variable. So the dependent variable is dependent on what the independent variable does. Remember the input output from a function that we did, the function machine? The input is the independent variable, the output is the dependent variable. So in this scenario, the number of knots is the independent variable. That's like our x. And the length of the rope is the dependent variable. The length depends on how many knots are tied into it. So that's like the y. We're going to plot these together, and we're going to pair up an x and a y, the ones that go together from the collection of data. So those two are going to be an ordered pair. So 0, 100, we're going to have a point right there. And then the 1 and the 94.6 are going to go together. So 1 and 94.6 is somewhere around there, just making an estimate. 2 and 88 are going to be paired up together. That's going to be right about here. And 3 and 85, those are paired up together. That's about right there. And then 4 and 79. All right, so that's a scatter plot. It is taking this data that we've collected and pairing them together as an ordered pair and plotting them on a graph. Okay, so it looks like that. In this problem here, what we're going to do, it says to graph the following linear function with the scatter plot. Okay, so this is our data from before, the plot that we made. And I'm going to take this linear function right here, and I'm going to graph it with this data. So I have to remember some review things, okay? First of all, this has a couple of pieces of information that are really important. This 99, if you remember, is the y-intercept. And this -5 is the slope. Okay, now there were lots of things we talked about with slope and y-intercept, but one of them was how to graph and where to put this stuff. So if the y-intercept is 99, that means the graph is going to cross the y-axis at 99. So right by this blue point. Now remember the -5, we said slope was rise over run. You guys remember that? So -5 over 1, if the number wasn't a fraction, we put it into fraction form. Okay, so the rise is -5. That means we're going to go down, and the run is 1, positive, so we're going to go to the right. So from this point, we're going to go down 5 and over 1. Now, I'm going to make this a little bit easier because my graph goes by tens. So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom of this slope by 2. So I get -10 over 2. So I'm going to go down 10 and over 2, which gives me a point about right here. And then I'm going to go down 10 more. If I was at 99, here I'm at 89, here I should be at 79, and over 2 more puts me about here. And then down 10 and over 2 more puts me about here. You can start to see a pattern emerging here as well. So this would be the graph of our linear function. Okay, so it's an equation that kind of represents this data, and we're going to talk more about that, I think, on day 3. For now, just kind of getting you into the practice of reviewing and how to graph these lines. Okay, so some review real quick, and we'll do a couple more. In the form y equals mx plus b, remember this was slope-intercept form. The m number here in front of the x is the slope, and the b number is the y-intercept. So we start by plotting the y-intercept. That gives us a point on the graph that we know is there. And then we use the slope, rise over run, to find additional points on the graph. Okay, so let's look at a couple more. Y equals 3x plus 5. All right, so the y-intercept is 5. So this graph is going to cross the y-axis here at 5. And the slope of 3 tells me that the rise over run is 3 over 1. So from this point, I'm going to rise or go up 3, 1, 2, 3, over 1. And I can do that again 1, 2, 3 over 1, as many times as I need to. I can also go this way. So I could go down 3 and this way 1. All right, so I have the line, the equation of this line, at least an approximation of it, right there. So that one is the graph of that one. And then if I look at the other one, I'll use green. The y-intercept is -3, so right there. And the slope is -2/3. So rise over run, remember I can go down 2 over 3. So from here I'm going to go down 2 to the right 3, and I get a point there. From there I can go down 2 over 3, and I get a point there. From there I can go down 2 over 3, and I get a point there. I can do that as many times as I need to, so I can graph these lines. All right, so this equation is graphed right there.